Okay, I'm going to do the same division problem I did in the other video, the traditional way, but I'm going to do it the box method way. So you can have, you can use either method. So we had 3 divided by 16. And remember, 3 divided by 16 could also be seen as 3 over 16. Because remember, all fractions are division problems. So when you see a fraction, in order to turn it into a decimal, you just divide the top number by the bottom number. So top divided by bottom, 3 divided by 16. So, and we remember top number in the house. So 3 goes in the house, 16 goes outside as the divisor. So just like you do with the traditional method, you know that 16 doesn't go into 3. So we're going to add a decimal, and we're going to add 3 zeros. And we just add 3 zeros because it's enough. Going 3 digits past the decimal is a good practice. It's enough spaces past the decimal. So that's why we always make sure we have 3 digits past the decimal. So now we have, for the box method, we want to think, okay, how many times does 16 go into 3,000, right? And we can estimate that by the 30, just like we do with the traditional way. So we know that 16 goes into 30 one time because 16 times 2 is 32. So 16 times 1 is 16. So you put the 16 under the 30 because that's the number that we're dividing into. But with the box method, remember, we're using this whole number, 3,000, pretending like that decimal's not there for right now. So we can say that 16 times 100 is 1,600, and we can just subtract all of that from 3,000. So we end up with 1,400. Okay? And then we add our next box. So here's the first box. Add our next box to keep going. And remember, we're going to keep adding these amounts up here. Okay, so now we have 1,400. That's what's left over. We know 16 went into 3,000 at least 100 times because we got 16 times 100 equals 1,600. Then we subtracted. So now we have, okay, 16 into 1,400 or 1,400. So 16 doesn't go into 14, but 16 does go into 140, so we'll use that to estimate. So 16 times, I had estimated 8 or 9, but then I tried 8. So 16 times 8, 48. And then 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So we end up with 128. So we'll put the 8 above the 0, the first 0, because we divided into 140. You always want to put the number, just like you would in the traditional way, you put the number above the last digit in the number you divided into. So 128, we're still subtracting. But remember, since we're trying to figure out how many times it goes into this whole number, 1,400, we know that it can go in 80 times, and then you just add a 0 down there. So if you multiplied this by 80 instead, you would get 1,280. So we still subtract, and we get 120. So one more box. 120 is what's left over. And so now, okay, 116 into 120, from last time we know that, well, from this time too, we know that 16 times 8 was 128, so 16 times 7 is going to be what we're going to need. I keep forgetting my multiplication. 7 times 6 is 42, carry the 4, 7 times 1 is 11 plus 4. I'm sorry, 7 times 1 is 7 plus 4 is 11. So 112. And the 7 goes up here. So we don't add any zeros because 7 times 16 is 112, and that's as far as we can go. So subtract still, just to make sure, and we end up with 8. So as long as we end up with a number here that's less than this one, then we know we're done. We don't have to go any more boxes. This is less than the divisor, we're done. And then it's 100 plus 80 plus 7, 187. And your answer, when you start with 3 digits past the decimal and you finish, then your answer is always going to have 3 digits past the decimal. So right there. 1, 2, 3 digits past the decimal. That's it.